Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the zodiac sign Aries and Death. And yes, it does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. I'm going to talk about general attitudes on Aries as far as death goes, and possible ways where I see a stronger propensity than average where Aries uh, may may die, and those are basically what I'm talking about when I'm going to be discussing this video. Now, as far as the general outlook, I mean, how Aries sees matters with it, Aries is very courageous, they have a lot of fortitude, and Aries is, I would say, is really unequivocally the most fearless of the zodiac signs. They are notorious for their fearlessness. If they feel they're in a situation where they've contracted something that could at least potentially be perilous, they will deal with it with a lot of courage. I remember there's a renowned actor, I think his name was Buddy Ebsen, and he was, I think he was on a show called Barnaby Jones, and somebody interviewed him one time. He was the Sun in Aries, if I remember right, and they said, well, Buddy, how come you've lived such a very good time? And he said, well, it's because I'm just fearless, he said, or something to that effect. So it's not surprising coming from an Aries native. But anyway, and Aries is not readily discouraged either. If they're in a situation and they have a state where they're contracted some kind of a debilitating illness that could be perilous, and they're not making a lot of progress, they're still going to keep fighting, because generally speaking, because that's how Aries is. And if they have any treatments that could, if they're in a situation, where they're, where they could be, where they feel they're, if it's a situation where something could be treated, that may, if it over some kind of illness or something that might lead to their death, that if there's treatment, Aries will move very fast, because Aries is not exactly known for their patience. They could be very impatient, they could be very hurried and quick on matters, which of course could actually be beneficial in some cases. And Aries may be the kind of person that really wants to see pioneering ways of dealing with matters connected with death, and because they have a pioneering nature and being able to enhance life and increase, augment longevity. Now, another thing I want to talk about now, and for Aries, and Scorpio will often fall on the 8th house cusp of death in a solar or sunrise chart. Now, zodiac sign Scorpio, of course, could be very resourceful. If Aries is in a situation where they could be facing possible death, or they've got something cancerous or something that may potentially kill them if they're not able to fight it or what have you, but Aries will, this is where the indomitable spirit can come in, because Scorpio is about indomitable will and spirit, and it'll be matters in life and death situations, and resiliency as well. Now, also too, this is something too, if you look at the body parts associated with the zodiac sign Scorpio, well, the fact that Scorpio is on the 8th house cusp, it tells me that if a person that has, the sign on the 8th house cusp can indicate where there might be some propensity of dying, and I don't think it would exclude body parts that are associated with that zodiac sign. Now, there's it could be something for Aries. It might be connected with the bladder, like bladder cancer, or something with the prostate cancer. Bladder and prostate can be associated with the zodiac sign Scorpio. Colon cancer, and the thing about it is, in Aries as well, I mean, this is Scorpio, zodiac sign Scorpio could be very investigative. So if Aries is involved in law enforcement and they're doing some kind of criminal profiling, this is the ideal, zodiac sign to be on that 8th house cusp. And they, as far as looking into deaths or murders, they may very well go beyond the surface and superficial, and go beyond subterfuge, superficiality. So anyway, Well, as far as Aries goes, is in terms of what's connected with them, the physical body, and ways where they're in a danger zone, you could say, in terms of afflictions that might lead to death. It could be something over with the brain. For one thing, it could be like a brain tumor or brain cancer. Some of you may have remembered there was a football player by the name of Lyle Alzado. He had a son in Aries, and he died due to it was brain cancer. And another thing too, and some of you also may have remembered Connie Culp. She was like one of the first face transplant people ever. I believe she had her son in Aries. And the thing is, before she had the face plant, or whatever you do, the face plant or the face transplant, she had it because she was shot in the face. And Aries is associated with the face in astrology, and also I would say gunfire as well, and violence, volatile actions. And she was shot in the face. She had the face transplant. Now I don't know as far as her passing, if that had something to do with her living with all this new skin or whatever that was on her face, if that may have played some kind of role. But anyway, Aries is also susceptible to, could be aneurysms, brain aneurysms, apoplexy. It could be injuries or fractures to the skull. Aries is often, they'll move so quick with certain things. They often will not take the precautions necessary when they need to do something. They need to be very careful in terms of, if they're riding a motorcycle, as far as helmets go, because they're very susceptible to injuries to the head. And those are some things to look at as far as Aries may go. Now, Aries also is connected with the eyes in astrology. Now, I don't know if anybody could actually die from anything as far as any disease. If there's any disease that's possible with the eyes, that's something I have not looked into. And anyway, well, another thing too is that as far as the fourth house goes, the zodiac sign Cancer often falls on the fourth house cusp of the end of life for Aries. So during this period, that latter part of life, and you're talking about leading up to the eventual death, this is a period where Aries, may be more introverted than usual. They might be dealing with more temperamental behavior and being nostalgic. The burial may be, fourth house also associated with burials. A burial may be very traditional or something that's connected with ancestry, what their forefathers and what have you, the people that are in their family tree, the way they had been buried. It's also it could be a period of time where Aries pays a lot of homage to their family. It could be a strong period of ancestral worship of that latter part of life, leading up to the eventual death. Now, another thing too is that the zodiac sign on the sixth house cusp can indicate health-related matters. Health-related matters sometimes can lead eventually to a demise, to a death. Now, sixth house can be about physical health debilitations. Now, the zodiac sign Virgo often falls on the sixth house cusp for Aries in a solar natal chart. Now, Virgo can correspond with the pancreas, the spleen, the small intestines. Aries may be susceptible to pancreatic cancer. It could be some issue with the spleen. It could be a ruptured spleen. It may be some issue with the small intestine. It could be some intestinal situation. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Intestinal ischemia. That is one of the things that are associated with a strong intestinal debilitation. And you're talking about a death could occur through a ruptured spleen. There can be greater proclivity with that for Aries than most other signs. A spleen infarction. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that 100% correctly. So these are some things that Aries needs to look at and be extra careful and guarded for, and as far as taking the precautions, whatever means to prevent or try to not but try to diminish these chances of these diseases in what I've been describing. Now, another thing I want to talk about too, as far as figuratively speaking, as far as the not literal death, but when you put something to death, when you want to eradicate or end something in life. And now, Aries Aries will end things, whether it's a relationship or whether it's a bad situation, some kind of employment that they don't like, if the situation's too contentious somewhere. They will often end this with very little hesitation, very little procrastination, and sometimes it's over, sometimes it can be associated with a physical confrontation Aries may get involved in order to end something. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, Aries is known for being very aggressive and very assertive. You're going to put something to an end. It will often be done very quickly. It can be done through being very outspoken, very direct, saying, hey, I don't like this situation anymore, etc. I'm not gonna put up with it, because Aries is not notorious for their patience. They could be very abrupt, very outspoken. If something is not right, or they don't think something is fair to them, and you're doing something to to agitate them, to make them exasperated, they're generally going to let you know a lot sooner than later, and they will put things to end very quickly. Unlike one of their adjacent signs, Taurus, which is really, you could say, is like the antithesis or opposite in that, I would say, because Taurus will often stay in whether it's a relationship or a job that's so detrimental to them for a long time, because they don't have that push that Aries has, and Taurus will procrastinate a little bit more, and often it's due to Taurus's unbound loyalty in a situation. But anyway, I will likely talk more about that in the video Taurus and Death, which will come out after this one. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.